Let's go to our first crypto. I wanted to give you guys an update about LWOLF. Okay, we did a look at LWOLF on Wednesday this week, and I'm just going to give you guys a recap real quick about LWOLF. I'm not going to take too much time, but we looked at a few things about LWOLF. One of the things that I measured was a strong accumulation campaign that was coming into this cryptocurrency somewhere about here a few years ago. Okay, this is basically buying that has to happen on down moves, down bars, and down trends. To hide their intentions, large money was coming into this crypto. The move was into health, professional buying identified, followed by a move into health. And this is where we had our initial health. Number one, there's another health marker back here based on these two core areas that would form a key angle. So we have a health one identified, health number two identified with buying in the background. I like that. It's not always on many cryptos. The move ran up for quite a time until the weakness happened, but when you see the weakness happen, the volume was drying up. I don't believe it was a heavy exit. I believe there's some profits that are being taken in this area, but it wasn't super heavy profit taking in that area. Although that's something I think that this is going to be the area where we're going to want to confirm for more buying next. And sure enough, now that prices came back down to these areas, another strong influx of activity happened and the move again into health. Based on the foundational area, you can see that this is where we're getting our rejection at, and this is where the health has came in. So this cryptocurrency is showing the signs of another possible accumulation campaign. So they're accumulating it in the VZB, which is the volume zone block, in this area. I'll call it a VZB. Once we start seeing these areas and we see a pattern of that professional buying, then they buy at the low price. It's like Monopoly. You want to pay a cheaper price before you raise the prices. You want to pay the lowest possible prices. So they buy on the down move, and then you see it moving into health. So when it goes up, people are like, oh, it went up out of nowhere. And really, it didn't go up out of nowhere. It was being professionally bought up, sometimes over the years. In America, we often see that with land grabs. We'll see them slowly accumulating land over a few years. We see them slowly accumulating industry over a few years. And then once they own all the monopoly on the industry or the bulk of the supply, we see the market change, and they can dictate the prices because they have the bulk of the floating supply by what they withheld or what they release on the market. They can drive prices down, they can drive prices up, they can do a lot of such things just based on who controls the bulk of the supply. So one of the key factors we like to see in crypto markets is when we see professional buying identified. I don't see it often. Superfood mentioned this crypto the other day. I believe it was him, and I was like, ooh, thank you, Superfood. That's a good one. And that's how I feel about this crypto. I see professional buying in the same area where I suspect professional buying was coming in last time, followed by health, two markers of health. If we see the same thing, professional accumulation coming in, followed by two markers of health. The professionals got in, they didn't really get out. They're getting in again. Therefore, we're going to be looking for this crypto to start rising. Now, with that said, I call that category or that type of view of influx of inflow and outflow of volume simply macro VSA. I also have another analysis called micro VSA. It's in our bonus section of how I view the relationships of volume together one to another. And based on this area, we're going to be looking possibly for, let's see, 1, 2, 3. We had a very low supply in this area. Based on this macro VSA, I'm going to be saying that these were good prices or this range. Now, the prices that were the good range for this crypto are 4020 and 4005. So somewhere between 5 and 20, that's the bulk of the range. Those are where we're getting good prices. Now, going further a little bit into LWOLF, I further broke down the map into some important areas, and these are going to be some of the things that I saw. So I saw a large flat in this area. I thought, hey, that's pretty good. I saw the downward key angle, and I saw that 4062 is the possible decision-making point. That's where we're going to be looking for prices to get to. I put also the sword cut here at 3020, and that means that if we're able to build above that 406, we're going to be looking to move up to possibly these areas. It also is a parabolic flat, and that means that if you look very carefully at the foundational area, it leads me, and I won't go over this too much in this video, but there's a parabolic leveling out that I drew here. In addition to that, based on this smaller uptrend, this is where the sword cut area is created. These are two possible areas that overlap. Therefore, this is going to be a stronger resistance. So I put a black border around the sword cut. That number is 0.0002. So 3 zeros 20, which means there's potential for some strong gain, and then above there, or moves above there, would let us know we're getting into another territory. In either case, this is the decision making point, 406. So I told everybody that on Wednesday. So I said wait to take a little bit of profit maybe, but if you're buying, do not buy. I'm saying I like this crypto, but do not buy. Okay, not yet, because there's weaknesses based on some of these foundational areas. I want us to come down to lower numbers. After that, I gave you guys the lower numbers where I'm looking for us to come down to 4034 and 30 based on target system. If I'm gonna buy it anyway, that's where I'm gonna want to pay. I'm gonna be looking for this to come down, not there. So that's based on the foundational areas that are coming up, and based on the last swing, it's in this area. We're gonna have another weakness that's possibly revealed underneath those areas. Now, right now, the price for that to happen or reveal is 4040. And if we get below 40, we're almost going to be sure to come down to 4034 or 32 with more certainty. Everything in this video is never financial investment or trading advice of any kind. Everything's just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. I eat red crayons for breakfast. Trading in the markets carries substantial risk. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. This is what I identified on Wednesday. So that's all what we identified on Wednesday. And now, with that said, this is LWOLF today. So let's pull up LWOLF. Okay. And as you can see, where did we go? Almost exactly to LWOLF. Okay. To LWOLF, to 60060, exactly like we called it. Okay, this is a resistance area, and the price was around 4062 area, and you can see the weakness still in. This is a reason why we got to be careful chasing cryptos that are before their time. These are the markers. They move along this track. This is the weakness marker. It moves along this track, and you can see price hit there the very next day after that video, and then we've been falling. Okay, we fell back to this initial target. Remember, this target's going to be fading away as it loses its strength. The next weakness marker you can place in the chart, it'll be approximately here, and it moves up and down this track. Now this is therefore a dynamic positive number. Okay, and what that means is that each day it moves a little bit higher. Okay, moves a little bit higher each day. Okay. Middle. I'm gonna click OK. All right. So dynamic positive means this number goes higher each day, but if it falls today, the number is actually 39. If it's tomorrow, the number goes up to 40 and so forth. So on average, we're looking around 41. And that's going to give us this marker for when the next weakness happens. If price phases through here, you're looking for it to fall. If price touches here, you're going to be looking for it to bounce. But generally, you're going to see it either a bounce or a jump, which means this is the next decision marker. That means for me, if I was going to buy it anyway, I want it to come down a little bit farther before making a decision about it being bullish. Okay, so that's what that means. All right, so I'm going to say if I can get away with paying for this at this price, I want to get it. I set alert for here. You guys would set alert as well if you want. On the conservative side, that's what I would do just to get notified, and then you can decide what you're going to do. The high side is 000, that's 4034. The low side is 4032. So if it hits that, I might be saying, I might be looking to get it. Then we'll look for it to come back up. We'll watch the sword cut that's cut. Then possibly we'll see a move down to 4020. Okay, are we going to get down here? I don't know. Are we just going to bounce out? I want to see it play out, but if you're going to buy it anyway, you want to pay closer to these prices, 41 and closer to 34, but that could be a sign of weakness. After that, I will draw you one more weakness, and it's going to be underneath this area. Okay, so if we see prices playing underneath that area, generally that's a sign we're going to be continuing to fall, And then finally, our final health marker is going to be approximately on the bottom areas. Okay, so those are all the important big decision makers. Does anybody have any other questions for my LandWolf? If you guys want more information about this, see our previous video from Wednesday. Good return with LandWolf, one of the OG memes, 000034. Okay. The percentage of money that's possibly on the table if we were to break above from here to there is closer to 200 and hold on. Yeah, closer to 228% to targets up in the sky. All right. So
Jason, you said 200?
Yeah. So this was hit.
From where?
From here.
Oh, from there. And
Yep.
from the other, with the low buy, the 00032?
One moment. So
Yep.
if you were to exit at that marker, approximately, and you see a move there from those prices, yeah, these big arrows will help. Okay, if you were getting in the breakout area, that's about 200%, 217% it says. So we'd be looking, and you can write this, 217% average, somewhere around there. If I can get those prices, that's about what I'm looking at. If we were to get from here down, that's going to be much higher, and if we got from here down, that'll be much higher. I'll give you those percentages right now. If you're looking at it, let's measure it together. I'll take my measuring line from our target where I'm expected. That's 400%, although this may not be the best entry. That means we need a bounce out of there. And that's assuming that's going to be the main entry. If the main entry is at the bottom, we can get those prices. That would be a really good move of around 800%. It'd be huge. Okay, that can't happen, Jason. That's too much percentage. It happened. Look, here in September 2024, with the exit in December 20, or to the tie, that's 1,500%. 1,486%. And if you got out at the weakness, which was right there in December of 29th, even that was 900%. So I don't think it's too much to ask for 800% if we can get to that bottom. Do we have any other questions, comments? All right, we'll move on to the next crypto, XDC. Let's take a look. XDC. All right, I've made it no secret. When we saw weakness on XDC, if it's not in a good spot, it's not in a good spot. It's not in a good spot. We were supposed to have a much stronger bounce back here in April, and we didn't. And weakness began to reveal itself here in May of this year. And when that happened, what causes us to start looking at is different places on the map. One of the places we're going to be actually looking is back in the lower ranges of the larger leveled out parabolic DP projection. And what that means is that based on this curvature, or approximately this curvature here, we duplicate that area to the top. And when we saw it match on the upper portions with verification, meaning I place it here, and this area is hit. This area is verification. So I use 1, 2, 3 for the curvature, and we duplicate that curvature to the upper spot. This becomes a verification. Now, to determine where we're going, we take the distance between that curvature and we duplicate on the lower side. Okay, so basically the distance now between this area and this area has to be duplicated out straight down. You can make a straight line and move it straight down, or you can do a curve, but if you do a curve, you just need to bring it and click it in place. So approximately what happens next is we take that distance and click the lower line in place. Now I've already done this hard work for you. I'm just showing you the concept of what we've done. And then this parabolic is supposed to level out approximately in a certain area. Okay, now we're coming to those areas, but we're not there yet, which means if I'm going to pay for this crypto, I want to pay closer to these ranges. The range I got for you based on my curvature calculation is somewhere around 0.0559, 0.054. So somewhere around 5, the mid 5s, 5.5, 5.4, maybe even 5.3 if my curvature is too liberal, and we need to be lower. So it's maybe somewhere around the lower side here. But it's basically there. Parabolics don't go back to a circle because price doesn't go backwards. Okay, so it doesn't go backwards. So we don't come full circle. We just level them off as we teach in our parabolic module. Okay, because of that, in my opinion, these are good prices for XDC once we come lower. So we've been watching for the weaknesses to appear so that we can start seeing that. The weaknesses have appeared here underneath this area, and we've been going down ever since. So I've been the bearer of bad news. The other thing we saw is that the XDC probably isn't going to go anywhere strongly until we can get into this area of health. And we've just been bouncing on the underside, and those have been acting like weaknesses. So haven't been expecting it to do anything super fantastic. In fact, all these targets that are still on the board, they're going to continue moving to the right. 10 cents, 12 cents. Triple J has a prophetic word, 13 cents benchmark. Now that makes sense because at the time 14 cents was up here, but now if price were to go straight up in the air, it has to beat 13 cents for it to reach the next major milestone. Okay, and what that means is that if price was reached 13 cents, we're going to be looking to get knocked down. But if they can start building above 13.50 or 13 cents up here, if they can start building, now we actually have a chance to do something new. Now that's going to be important because this larger angle is at play. I'm going to show you on a weekly chart to simplify some of my view. Okay, on a larger chart, we're actually been in an uptrend. And in the uptrend, we have these down moves based here in purple. Larger games within larger games. Or, in other words, the smaller games are hidden within the larger games. Everything somebody sees right now often is usually a smaller game. When you pull up your chart, on average, you're looking at 15-minute charts, 1-hour charts. Most people are not looking at them correctly because you have to read them in context. If I read a single word, I'll be like, oh yeah, negative. Oh, the word is negative. Man, this is a negative article. And if it says, hey, loving your neighbor is a negative. Oh, sorry, if it says let me see, let me pick a better word. I use the example all the time, absolutely. If I say absolutely, I say, okay, it's a positive word. Absolutely, absolutely. I read it. But then if I zoom out and the word is absolutely not in a phrase or sentence, it changes the context completely. If it says absolutely not, I will never give up on you. And then you say, oh, the person's asking if they'll give up on me. And now it says absolutely not. Then it changes back to a positive. So we'll have to keep zooming out to understand the concept. But then if I say to you, if it's a person who is, I don't want to go too deep into that, but you guys can imagine that the context can shift back and forth. If it says, I'll never give up on you, my king, and then it turns out the king is an evil king, then you're like, oh man, it's a negative again. So how you view it is based on the overall context. And that's what I want people to get within sword method. When you guys are drawing your lines on charts, we zoom out and we try to read it in context. In context, XDC is positively in an uptrend. Major weakness has not been revealed on this crypto. If I were to show you a major weakness, it'd probably be underneath maybe this line here, and that should be a color red. Okay. So I will give you that image if you really wanted to, and you guys can replicate based on the foundational areas, which are these larger round structures, and they're very important. Okay, this one and this smaller one. Draw that as areas. Okay. Now, once we have that, we start cutting price down to size. We start seeing this. We start seeing verification based on that same exact angle. We saw some buying, which is initial money coming into the crypto. Things like that. And then we see a large down move with strong accumulation coming in. So I put the XDC, large buying coming in. So the volume zone block was back here, and we identified that. when the health was revealed back in these areas here, price moved up in a very strong way. So right now, if price moves up too fast, like with ultra high volume bars at the top and the moves into weakness, we know that some people are taking profit. These cryptos need to come down. If the move down is on very low or diminutive, stronger diminutive volume in the macro VSA, that means that the down move is not in harmony with the overall move. Right now, this is not where the money's behind. The money is actually trying to increase on the up moves. Therefore, we're going to be looking at this as what we know as a correction, which means, in other words, that the down move itself is just a temporary move. We're going to be looking for this to try to reveal a health at another time. So that's a very powerful thing. All right, let me show you. Okay, this is a very powerful thing. So we want to see times when this crypto would be at a more likely supporting area. Okay, we're going to be looking for reasons to find health for this crypto. However, there is no health revealed based on these current angles. I'll report them to you right now. If I look at the energy center in the core area, okay, it's going to be there. Okay, and I take these energy centers basically about right here. I'm left with an angle that is going to be something like this. Okay, something like that. Already, I'm responding negatively to this area, which means the real health has to happen either when price phases through and while we have a chance to move up. This would be what we know as a health marker, but we're not there. Okay, so we're not in a health area. If we were to look at our sword cut and where we're probably going to go next, based on this area, we'd probably be wanting to look at one or two areas. We'd probably want to be looking at here when we fall and then have a chance to come up and want to pay those prices. As I was mentioning before, this angle is very important. In addition to that angle, we're going to be watching for signs of health or the marker of health. And we don't have any sign that it's going to be anytime soon. Okay, not just yet. So therefore, I have more reasons for us to be looking for more weakness on XDC. And that means often I'm the bearer of bad news. Now, letting you all know, based on what I see as the parabolic, the nearest support is going to be around 0.05559. That's where I'm looking for the entry, at the very least. Movements below here would signal further moves back down to possibly the sword cut range. At this time, I'm going to bring the sword cut range in play. Right now, you've had the average around 4.3, which is around 4 cents. Now, currently, it's at 0.559. So if this weakness is revealed underneath here, we're going to be getting down to this range. More likely, it's going to be 0.0437 to 0.0397. Now, Triple J was saying some words just right before the break. Triple J, you there? Triple J?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you were saying something at the break time about some lower prices. You were saying, I hear 4 cents or something like that?
Yes, I've been hearing the Lord spoke to me a few times. 4 cents.
4 cents will come.
I believe it's going to be most likely, maybe it would go down.
Okay.
And we might even have a wick to 3 cents. High freeze, I believe. But it's probably going to be like one of those crazy wicks. So put your low buy orders.
I hear 4 cents possible wick to 3 cent areas. Okay. And thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there's the screenshot. You may be looking, our target system for this area gives us 40402, so almost 4 cents exactly, and the lower area is going to be 0.0338. So moves down there. I will draw this for you basically as how I may see this playing out. This one, therefore, is going to be looking something like this. Move. There we go. Moves down here. prices building underneath this area would see a strong move down to the target area. The target overlaps on the lower side, which is going to be closer to, let's see where it laps, somewhere around here, which for right now that's about 4 cents. So I'm going to say about 0.42, not 42, 402. That's where we're looking. Come. I'll put a big star over those areas, just as I did with LWOLF, and that's going to be indicating that. The nearest health, if things go really positive, it's here. So again, I don't want to pay for this right now. If I can get away with buying XDC, I don't want to buy it just yet. I want to hold on to either this bottom here at 0.0559, and that's what I'm going to pay, or I'm going to pay the 4 cents. Right now, based on what I'm seeing, I'm more likely going to be looking to pay for 4 cents. To give you guys a more accurate view of timing, we can do one more thing. We can take the angle that is the foundational angle, and again, that's based on some of this structure here. So I'll show you. If I'm looking at these, like that's, I'll give you a big crayon so you can see. This is a round structure here. That's a peak structure here. That's the angle that forms. The angle on the bottom.
Shooting some mulch. Yeah.
Okay, so we got
Gotcha.
a hot mic.
Thanks.
It's going to be somewhere in this area, which means if price were to fall, but it falls over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be more accurately falling here. The timeline when these overlap is often called a vortex. So if I take that angle approximately, it's going to intercept these targets somewhere in these weeks, which is going to be July to August. So I'll give you a more professional, that's basically what we're looking at. So I'll put July, I'll put August, and I'll put these as, so you guys can see the timing for this window. Okay, we call that the vortex window. All right, somewhere around there, July to August. A more accurate angle would look like this. And let me see if the wicks match. I wouldn't use the wick match. I would use the cores, and the cores are matching pretty good. Okay, based on this move here. Let's delete this old. We don't need this flat right here. Actually, I might use it. These we can delete, clean up our chart a bit. Yeah, we can delete that. Let me just clean this up. Okay, so therefore I might be looking at something in a window. The earliest window for the vortex is again around this is June 16th, and the main target July 7th, and then further on this side, a maximum of September to going to be the end of November of 2025. So sometime this year, therefore, we're going to be looking to come into the lower areas if price weakness is continuing to be seen somewhere in this window. Okay, that's early maximum, minimum maximums. Okay, everybody got that? Everybody have any questions for me? Anyone have any other questions for me regarding my opinion, take on some of the more important angles to be watching out for XDC? Okay, good. Let's move on. The next crypto I'm going to look at SHX. This is the overall round structure we've identified for this. SHX is healthy in my opinion as long as it stays within its upward oscillation. Okay, the upward oscillation based on this angle here at the top, this should actually be the key, and then here, but the reason we keep this one as the key is because it has its own built-in foundational area, which is here within the round structure itself. It's going to be that angle right there. Okay, you can see that the bottom is made up of this angle. So that's why we drew the angle here. When we duplicate it on top, the exact same angle, and we move it to the top side, it matches the verification, which means I place it here in the beginning area, although it's rare for me to do it. It matches this area. If I place this area as the source area, then it matches this area. So price can be read forward or backwards. It doesn't matter which direction. We just like to see those verifications. Okay, now with that said, that's going to give me more confidence about this angle. And this is where we were reviewing some of the lower supports. So we have support here, and it just happens to be a target. We outlined this target in black, so we view that as a stronger target. It looks like we hit there in April 7th. Then we hit this again in this area. We put some commentary. This is a vortex. I said I suspect price may phase into weakness. We did not phase into the weakness. We just bounced on the health. The health is this circle here, and that's where we're gonna start going up. The health was revealed, and now what we're gonna be looking for is close above this area, and if so, we're gonna be looking more towards 19 cents, in my opinion. Okay, so that was back in June. What is this? Not June 20, 2025. Oh yeah, that's the vortex, June 20, 2025. This is no longer valid because we bounced. Okay. Now this could change depending on this month and what happens, but that was, we're gonna put a big X through it so you guys can see it. Like that. Okay, currently this is the game. So the health is standing. We did not phase into weakness, at least not yet. Let's go down now to a 2-day chart and look to see some further things regarding this chart. Using our gesture analysis, we were seeing the next health marker is going to start being revealed above these areas. Weakness was revealed here. We came down only for a little bit, and then the foundational area was broken into health. This area again, that circle right there, bouncing on the support and in and above. Delete that at 0086. 0089, sorry, 089 was the price we're looking for the breakout. We got the breakout. There's the health. Now we're in this new area. We need to watch for the resonant. We're going to be watching for one of the more powerful angles, I should say, more dominating angles. In this case, we can use this particular angle. Now I'm going to share with you something, and you're gonna learn something if you haven't heard this before. We're going to show you real quick. This angle is based on two things. And I'm going to show you how to use it as a tool. If we look at the lower section here, I have an angle with smaller round structure. Okay, so the round structure is going to be something like that. The round structure is going to be something like this at the bottom. The core areas is going to be approximately here and approximately here. Okay, so this angle is going to be core. If you have a time when the core angle is sufficient, but it also matches the wick area as well, then you're going to review the oscillation as much wider. And in this area, we can see that the core matches the wicks approximately. Okay. So this one, when we use that, it's going to do one of two things. As a key angle for its function, you can read this either as a range and just treat it all as one block, but you're going to take that angle and you're going to place it at core and wick, and you're going to use those areas to give you the next marker. It's going to strengthen and fortify the angle. Once you have it and it matches both core and wick, it just makes it stronger. Okay, so this is the wick side. That's the core side. And it matches both. So it's going to strengthen when we duplicate the line and place it on the phantom side, which is up here. And you know all this from lesson number 1. When we place it here, it's going to strengthen this. So a breakout in this area is powerful or more important. Okay, so closes above those areas is good, and I don't care if price rests, but when we rest and price now comes down, we like to look for one thing important. When price comes down, I want to see, does anybody know some things I want to see when price comes down? Anybody know what I might want to see?
Rounding.
Okay, rounding is one. That's right. We want to look for possible rounding. Okay, so rounding might be one, which would look like that bounce, maybe on here or even on the angle itself. What else am I looking for? There's something important that I'm looking at.
Probably has something to do with volume.
Yes. What am I looking for in the volume? Low volume. Good. InvestBox is correct. Christian AA?
This is correct.
Now I wanted to say the volume must decrease.
The volume must decrease. So InvestBox, Christian got it. Elisa got it. Why are we going to be looking for the volume to decrease on the down move? Why is that important? Anybody can put it in your own words as best you can. I just want you to get in the ballpark somewhere. And yes, that's absolutely the answer. Anybody? Christian, AA.
When people are not willing to sell their stronghold anymore, so there's no volume, everybody's keeping their coins.
Yep, that's right. They pushed it here, or they may have pushed it. That's going to be the next thing we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking for them to not be interested, not holding on to the coins, selling them here. So we want to see low volume. That's going to be number 2. Okay? Now the third thing, I just gave you the answer. Look for low volume down move. The third thing we're going to be looking for, identify, and this one we can do today, the others we have to wait, identify pushing volume at break. Okay, and what pushing volume is in our method, or in our art, is this candle here. We want to see high volume, a high volume bar at that moment. Okay, that will identify or let us know that this was on purpose. Question mark. If pushing move is on purpose, a purposeful manipulation into a positive area. Now, I don't always look for pushing, but in context, if this is an important break, a popular money-making maneuver you will see is to move price into those positive areas. And you'll usually see this when looking at volume coupled by a high volume bar into those positive areas, just to get it over the mountain, in other words. Okay, so this is going to be something we'll look for SHX. If we see it above this particular angle, right there, that break, that candle, I don't always look for high volume, but that might be something. If it's followed by the low volume, it's, wait a minute, why is it high volume now and then nobody's interested in follow through selling? It's not really selling, is it? It's just pushing. It's just trying to get us over that hump, over that slump. And you can, that's how you, one of the ways you might want to interpret that data. So let's look quickly. And that means that on this day, I want to see high volume, June 10th. Do we got it? What do you think? Yes, we got it. Okay. Strong, ultra high volume there. Now, one thing I don't like, so we can't see this right there. Possible pushing. Okay. The reason I say possible is because we still have to read this in context. Now the next bar, heavy possible selling. We don't like to see a down bar closing near the low on really high volume in a possible area. I don't like that this is higher, so we want to see the volume really dry up. We want to see this like really low or coming down significantly. That's what we want to see next. Okay. I want to see this next. And what this is going to do is tell me the story that now it's safe to enter. In either case, if this is possible selling, okay, danger or warning, let's put danger, possible heavy selling by professionals, okay? Because it's going to happen on an up bar, up move, and the bar closing down here, maybe a lot of too much profit taking, enough to swamp it, and maybe price is not going to be able to hold, and we'll see something fall through. So I want to see that these supports are going to hold, and we're going to see that if the attack on the down move is really diminished, I'm not going to be looking for it to come down. I'm going to be looking for it to continue to hold as a support. Okay. So you can take a screenshot if you want to of what I'm expecting for SHX. Okay. And then I'll just show you one more thing. We'll move on. Okay, got it? All right. Let's go back down to that daily chart, and I think I wanted to show you only one more thing. Yeah, I want to show you the parabolic. Okay, this area, now we're going to delete the gesture, and we're going to modify this parabolic. So what I'm going to do is draw a standard parabolic, and I'm going to collect these larger energy centers. And I will just show you what I want. We'll do 1, I'll do 2, and I'll do 3, and they level off there. Okay, approximately. They level off at the lower side of our old flat in blue. Okay, now already we had a flat, and we're building above that flat, or now we here in this area, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So this is our flat, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Flats are at work, and we respect the flat on top, but we're now disrespecting the flat by going in, but yet we're still respecting it. What do we call it when we have a flat but we disrespect it at the same time as respecting it? So we really respect the line, but we disrespect it. What does it mean when that happens? Okay, if we have a flat, we're disrespecting it yet respecting it at the same time. Somebody put it into words. Okay, I have a flat.
It's like a mid-phantom?
Yes, it's a mid-phantom. Mid-phantom. Good job, Paul. When we have a flat or an angle that is disrespected and respected at the same time, almost always we're dealing with a type of mid-phantom, and therefore we need to use the mid-phantom transformation techniques. In other words, we're dealing with a DP projection. We're dealing with some larger oscillation. Okay? To identify the oscillation, it's quite simple. We just measure one side, duplicate it, and put it on the opposite side. When we do that, we're going to take the flat, an existing flat, and we're going to click it in place. Now I've already done this for you, and it's here already on. So I basically did the hard work. It's up here at 0.04 and 0.03 cents. Now current price is 0.1, and I'm saying we're probably going to get up to 0.04, 0.03 cents. We just need to know when the seasons that's going to happen. Okay, is it now? Right now, I think we're probably going to play down here a little bit longer, and then we're going to make our move, in my opinion. But that's basically where we're saying this is the goal. Okay, I'll put this down. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. And then here's our respect, and disrespect when crossing over. It is also, if you guys are new to our community, you're saying, is it like step-ups? Yes, it's a lot like step-ups. Okay. In either case, this therefore becomes the goal. Okay, or larger goal. Larger target. Okay, not based on target system, but based on the principles of DP projection. We're going to put the word DP target, okay? This is going to be our larger target on the board. Okay? So I'm going to be paying attention to that area with a lot of interest. Sometime in the future, I think we can get there, provided we can stay alive here. So if this stays alive, we're going to get there. And I'll tell you the money that's available on the table, and you guys can set your alerts and do for it, okay? But so far, take a screenshot, okay? If we can stay alive and not enter the weaknesses, we can win this battle. Or the price can win this battle if you're watching. Underneath, things are going to get messy and maybe have to try to maybe at a later time. Okay? And I'll do something like that. You'll be the first to know it because you're plotting the map. You can see what price is actually doing. Okay, let's show you now the money that's possibly on the table. If I go to, and I just say the lower parabolic, the 10.010, 10 cents, or 0.1 cents, the move up there is closer to 256%. I would like to make 200%, if possible. I would like to do it. Is it guaranteed? No, nothing's guaranteed in the market. We can only try to stack the odds in our favor and let price come to us. We're not gamblers. We're more like farmers. And we're more like hunters, okay? We're more like farmers and we're more like hunters. We wait for the right moments, we wait for the right seasons, we plant in season, and we harvest in the appropriate areas. Does that make sense? Let me write some commentary on here, and I'm gonna add some text. I'm gonna say possible 0.010 and 0.0102 entry area for SHX. Okay. And I'm going to put the word wait. Okay. Just so you guys have this map. I want to be looking there. Does everybody have any questions for me for this crypto and my battle plan on how I see things playing out in from a game perspective? Okay, I need to come down before I strike. Okay, got it?
Can we do targeting system?
Not further above there, no. The highest target you're going to get is the flat at 0.019. And you can do it on this smaller area, but I'll let you do that. This is already a date. Oh, that's a weekly chart, so you can do that smaller area. Now I want to show you when I'm looking at that. Let's go back now to the daily chart, and I'm going to show you why I'm looking in the area I'm looking at. Okay, just to remind you now, that was a weekly chart. These are the energy centers we're dealing with. 1, 2, 3. And in those energy centers, they level out right here at the 10 cent number. So therefore, if we do pull back, I want to get closer to this range, which is the old flat. And of the flat, I want to get to the lower side. I'm going to be looking at the liberal side, which means if I'm shorting, I don't want to take profit here. I want to take profit more here, because that's the natural place where we're going to dip into. Now, it could be a short wick, and you can see the candle like this, and we can wick into that area, and it can be really quick. So you want to have orders set up if you're shorting, and if you're going to be buying, you want to have orders set up at the lower side of this range. And of that, I'm going to be more conservative compared to this side. But of this blue one, that's going to be the conservative side, because it's closest to price. Price is here, so it's going to be closer. And this is going to be the liberal side. Okay. Liberal, because it's farthest. So in this case, where the parabolic overlaps is going to give me a more guiding light. It overlaps on the lower side rather than the higher side. So we're going to use the farther price, which means I want that price of closer to 1 cent maybe even the high 90s. Okay, does that make sense? Everybody got it?
So it will gain a 0?
Possibly if it goes below that, it will gain a 0. Around 9 cents. Yeah, the
'cause
higher 9s.
They retrace. That it will retrace a little bit. And I think I told Lisa that the other day. I didn't say, hey, the Lord said, but I told her, oh, I'm going to wait for it to come down a little bit. We were talking about that. She was hoping they came down. But right now, when we were speaking, I saw like an added 0. But it was going to be, like you said, something quick. I don't think it's going to stay there long. It's just more like a healthy retrace.
Something not long, healthy. Hold on. I'm trying to write this down. Healthy retrace. Okay. And it's going to be June 14th, 2025. Thank you, Triple G. Okay, that's good. And that's what I believe is going to happen. So I want to, therefore, we're going to make the difference. You say, Jason, how can I use this to make money, save money, protect money, something like that in that category? One way, I'm not here to trade for you. I'm here to teach you because you're going to one day, again, you're going to be millionaires, billionaires, many of you. You're going to be sitting around tables. You're going to be discussing things, and you're going to need to understand the flow of price. And according to our art, I hope this art helps you start mapping out where price is moving, what's more likely, what's more less likely, what's more dangerous, what's not so dangerous. After putting many of these structures, I can see that the story is being painted that we're possibly very much getting to this number. If we do come back down, therefore that's where I want to strike. So I want to be alerted. How you can do this is you can set an alert for yourself. You cannot set alert on blocks, but you can't. Let's see, can we? Yeah, you can. Oh, good. Okay. I'm going to click on the... Nope, you can't.
What's that vortex number there?
The vortex date or the number? The number is around July 17th, and it's 00095. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to take a trend line like this, and we're going to take that line and we're going to move it across this bar about right there, and then we're going to make it thick. I'm going to make it thick and white for me, and I'm just going to stretch it across for just a bit, somewhere on the top side for me, just some kind of angle, and I'm going to make sure that it's at least from today on. So that means I don't need to put it so much in the past, but somewhere around today onward. And I'm going to bring it to that area somewhere so I can get ready. All right. So how you're going to do this, you're going to draw your flat line onward and then click on your line once, use your toolbar, click the alarm clock symbol right there. Symbol. Click on it, and then you're going to click on the word message. Under message, you can type in what you think. For me, I'm going to put SHX is at lower predicted price. Okay. June 14th analysis. Chart room. Maybe whatever you want to put. So give you back the video. Look for possible entry. If you can put any of these words, whatever you want to do. Look for possible entry and move up and exits around. And what was the exit? The higher 40 cents. Around 0.040 to 0.036. Create. Okay. So that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to put a star on this screen like this. And that's all I want to say. Any other questions?
Can you zoom out and tell me, draw a mid-phantom so I can see if it's like under the mid-phantom or over the mid-phantom?
Currently, the mid-phantom is on two parts there, and I'll show it to you. Okay. One moment. Okay, go ahead and just take a screenshot now, and that will be my final image for this. Come. And do you see how you have structure on the upper side of the range and the lower side of the range? The whole mid phantom is just very thick and wide. Okay? Does that make sense?
I didn't mean the mid phantom for the flat. I meant the mid phantom for the whole structure.
There may be a mid phantom. I didn't draw one here. I don't think I did. But if you drew one, maybe it's there. Let me make it the appropriate size. Sword cut. Step ups not active. Step ups may be active for this one and that one. The next step up would have been approximately here. We have some resistance there. So yeah, that support is going to be somewhere in the last mid phantom range. Here, resistance, and then this one, yeah. This one's very wide. So the last one is going to be up here, approximately there. Step ups are always in gray for those who are doing our step ups. And we're going to pull back price in front. Okay. Right, any other questions?
That explains why it stopped right there.
Yeah, possibly. Okay, if you're new to our community and you want more about what I'm doing with step-ups, I do tutorials on Wednesdays. Otherwise, type in lessons on our lessons page, and you're going to look at the step-up tutorial module, and you'll do a whole lesson just on step-ups. All right, any other questions? Let's go to XRP. I don't want to spend too much time on XRP because we did it this week. I wanted to point out one thing about XRP from this week. For XRP, we've been looking at this area. In my opinion, this is a support area at about $2 that we've had for quite a bit. We've known it since we were down here months and months ago. Here's back in November. This is like what, last year sometime. We knew when we were coming, we were looking to build above the $2 range, which is approximately here. And I have it on multiple maps. I have two main chart maps, but this is basically what we're looking at, the $2 range. One thing of note, that when we hit the support for these areas at $2, the moves up to these areas have been very strong. We hit $2 and went to all the way to where? Here? The first one went all the way to 270, came back down to 191. Then we came up to $3.36. Then we came back down to 180. Then we came up to 276 and came back down to, again, $2. Then we came up to $3, and then we came back down to $2. And then we came up to 250, and then we came back down all the way even to 150, but bounced primarily, again, around $2. And then we came up all the way to $2.60, and now we are on our way, I believe, in a negative spot. $2 has been basically the primary support area, and the supply has been being absorbed. Okay, the supply is being heavily absorbed at $2. In other words, what I suspect, highly suspect, is at play is that the supply is being removed exactly where we suspected it would be removed at. If you're playing along with the larger banks and hedge funds, if you're trying to find out what they're doing, I would suggest observe what they're doing first, and then you can do what they're doing. All right? They're basically accumulating, in other words, at $2 range. Okay, and by $2, you know that 197, 187. Okay, I'm gonna put in my text here as a reminder, because we talk about these things every few months, and again, I'm not doing the whole chart for this. I just want to point out some of these stuff. Remember, professional not how you spell professional accumulation must have absorption to be successful. It appears XRP has been accumulated along the $2 area for months, approximately, and I'm going to put in parentheses 197 to 187 average. Okay, $1.87, but basically $2. Okay, and I posted this months and months ago. Last year we've been talking about this area, so you guys all know this. Ain't new for any of you. You know that I told you if you're going to buy XRP, pay $2. Don't pay the higher prices. Pay the $2. Okay. Okay. This. So that's number one. Okay. Number two, I want to say this. In addition, it appears the bulk of this supply is being absorbed. However, this is not complete, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, now one of the things in the ways that I serve you, my friends, is to put my analysis on important topics or areas. And I know there's a lot of moving pieces to keep track of, but that's one of the ways I serve you. You don't have to know it all or things like that. You can rely on friends, other technical analysts to try to see as much as the game if possible, right? There's going to be things that you may not see, things I don't see. I need your help. You need my help. And I'm grateful as a community you guys have been sharing your charts, and that's fantastic. One of the things that I see about this current game is one of the things I see about the current game is that as we are coming down, the volume at the lows has been absorbed, but there's still a lot of volume at the $2 area. This is what we know as aggregately high. It's not high in relationship to everything else, so we're going in the right direction, but it's still aggregately high, which is in my tutorials one of the scenarios that we look for to see the game playing where it's at. This lets me know that the general gravity is to come back down to those areas in the lower areas. Okay, so right now, for example, this one, I meant this one. Not this one. That one's going to be a pushing volume. I'm going to show you these two things. Okay. This is the symbol I always draw for you guys in our micro volume class. So micro VSA analysis. 3 symbols. This one is the aggregately high symbol, and I draw it usually like this. Okay, when you see me draw that symbol, I'm rereading the relations to the lows. I did this once months ago, and I said, hey, it looks like the volume's being dried, but it's not done yet. And we hit it again, and I'm telling you, we're going to hit it again. XRP, where are we coming? $2. Watch. We still have aggregately high. It's going in the right direction. All that blue, we're going in the right direction, but it's not done. That's number one. So this is still aggregately high. I'll write down this word here. That's the word I write. And I don't even know how to spell aggregate. There we go. White. Let's give this a color. Let's use ice blue. And why is my keyboard not working? My keyboard's not working. I'm gonna have to delete this. I don't know why my keyboard's not working, but aggregately high. Okay, which means basically something like overall it's still high, aggregately high. Now, this is important because if the supply, this means this supply has not been removed. Okay. I'm going to type this in. This means capital word, not gas, not been removed. Okay? That's what that means. This means the supply has not been removed. And that means look for lower prices. Look, there it goes. Look for lower prices. Now my keyboard works. Okay? That's what that means. Now, we have one more thing to observe on here, and I'm going to show you what it is. It's pushing volume. Pushing volume identified. You guys want to know what's really happening on XRP? I'm letting you know. I'm letting you know the secrets. I am literally showing you guys the secrets. Okay, pushing volume identified. Let's give this a color. We're going to call it, we're going to put it in green. Pushing volume identified, and I'm going to show you where this is. This means the move into weakness is on purpose. I'm showing you the secret. I'm showing you where it's going to happen. I'm showing you why, in my opinion. It could be wrong, but this is what the data is telling me. Okay, so there's no pushing volume. You don't have to worry about that one. Good. That's not so bad. That's just high volume on the up bar. They're still selling. Okay, that's not going to be something of super. No, that's some profit taking that's happening here. Not super bad. Okay, selling into weakness. We already have the weakness bar on here. All of this means is that we still have not finished the game, playing the game here. It's saying you still need to come back to the table. That's what all this means. The aggregately high area is there. You still need to come back to the table. So therefore, the key area you're looking for is $2 still. Everybody understand that? Now, with that said, I have one more thing to show you. Okay, take your screenshot right now, and I'm going to move on. This is important for XRP. Jason, do I buy XRP right now? I'm letting you know what's happening based on the game that the banks are playing, the financial institutions, the big hedge funds, the money that comes in and out. Okay, what I'm looking for is 178. Now, why 178? Okay, why 178? If I look on average at the angle that we're playing on, that angle matches the wick side, and that angle also matches the upper side, and I got 2 wicks in the very beginning area as well. That tells me I'm going to be looking more, if price falls next week, I'm looking at 179 to possibly 162. That means not only am I going to get down here, but I'm also going to get here. Okay. I'm probably going to be using the wick side because the wicks match. So I'm probably going to be looking at 160 XRP prices. Okay. Again, the area is down near the $2, but if we're being very accurate, it's actually closer to 179 to 162. So in my opinion, that's going to be more where we're looking at. 162. All right, we're closer to the game. We hit 2 multiple times. Now we're going to be looking closer to 162, but it's still building in this area, which means it could very much look like one of these candles where you have a long wick and support. We can be wicking down here and building and then moving up. Okay, that's what that means. I'll draw a picture of how might this look. We'll draw some candles and possibly a long candle, and then we're going to see a move up for XRP. It'll probably look like that. Okay. If you're going to pay, you want to pay those prices. Everybody got it so far? I only have a few more things to show you, in my opinion. Important. Okay. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you, back on that daily chart, the parabolic based on this upper area, or the gesture based on the whole curved area, leads me to think parabolic. When I drew that parabolic, we're now on the underside, hit it once, twice. There's no support here, so those watch lines are going to go away or get adjusted. Okay, they'll be adjusted here, and it'll be just like this. So we're still in a weakness. Support or the bounce is weak. I'm thinking the game is being lost. I'm thinking weakness is still appearing. So therefore, I'm still looking to get down 197, 187, 179, 162 possibly. I want to have alerts and buy orders here. To do, you can click on your trend line, click your alarm clock, and make sure you have your alert. I have an alert here, XRP at good entry prices. Safe. And that's it. When you get your alert notification, maybe you want to get some XRP, and probably not sooner. Anyway, that's my opinion on XRP. And for those who wanted my opinion, that's where we're getting to. Anyone have any other questions, thoughts?
I just have a quick question method-wise. Do you double check this with targeting system, or would you not even worry about it at this point?
No, I wouldn't worry about target system since it'll be on the lower side anyway. But if I was going to do target system, I would do it from here to here, from the bottom, either here to here or the bottom up, and you're probably going to see that area show up. But since we hit it multiple times, I'm not really concerned so much about that one.
Yeah.
In my opinion. If you do another target system on a daily chart, or like maybe a 6 or 4 hour chart, you're going to use this side to that side, and then if you see the target, it's about there, you're more looking at weakness. So you can do that later if you want to. Anyone who's doing target system, that's what I would do. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Questions, XRP? Questions, comments, XRP?
You still see that 150 going on there?
The high side 160, I don't have exactly 150 on this particular chart, but you do. You got 169, 150, 189 from May 17th.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. I'm good. I already said what I need to say. Good. All right. The next we're going to be looking at is silver. So let's take a look at silver. We're going to be looking at this on the FX Open. Okay, one of the things we've been looking at for silver is moving up in this oscillation that we've identified, a more oscillation based on these angles. When we last looked at it, we needed to confirm some of these angles down here, so it was just hand drawn. But it's basically something like this, an accelerated adjustment line. Okay. Let's pull up a silver on a weekly chart. As I pull up on the weekly chart, the angle is something like this. Let's collect the cores a little bit more carefully. And we can collect those cores about right there. Then we can more confirm them by matching the wick side. The wick side is going to be about right there. And you can only collect two, not so bad. I won't put that on there. Then we duplicate it, place it on the top side here, and that's going to give us these tops here here. And that's going to be our top area. All right, now we're at a vortex area. So silver, man, I really love our charts. Guys, I don't care what you say. I like our charts. I don't care what Camino says about our charts.
Come on now.
I'm waiting for him to respond. I'm just kidding. Camino uses our method, so he loves our charts too.
It's a great method, guys. I'm telling you.
One of the best. Yeah, you guys are going to be excited when the manuscript comes out. I got to keep more of a lid about that just right now. But anyway, we've been using this to track silver for quite some time. And we are at a vortex. And what that means is that this oscillation is coming to a head right here. I put vortex in approximately August, okay? But guess what? We're already hitting there now. Now, vortexes are not conditioned for the day. They're just around the seasons or where they're more likelier to happen. But if you look carefully, this is a weekly chart, and the vortex is coming up this month. Yeah, over the next few weeks, we're coming here. So if I'm being real accurate, it's around these seasons. We're passing through. And again, all that means is that this area is intercepting with this area. And price is up in that pocket. When price is in that pocket, what do we call it when price is in the pocket of a vortex? Anybody remember what I call it? Prime. That's right, Bridget. We call it a prime vortex. Now, when we create vortex areas, we don't call them prime vortexes. But if price is in the pocket, it's primed. Like a gun that you have to, before you put a paint gun or something like that, you have to prime the pump for it to come out or before it's ready. When the price is in that pocket, we call it prime. Now, this basically is in the pocket, so we're going to call it a prime vortex. Okay, otherwise you just have vortex areas on the map. Let's clean up this old silver chart. We don't need a lot of this stuff anymore. Most of this has been fulfilled or done, or smaller areas, smaller helps, but now we're at a more larger place. So this is where things get a little bad for silver, okay? Silver needs now to break, now that it's hit 37, what current price, 36.21? Now that it's hit here, it already hit 36.84, and we're coming up to 30, let's put it right in that pocket for tomorrow, 37.65. So if you guys are trading silver, you're almost there. I would hold on to it a little bit longer, and then you're going to want to probably think it's going to do something different. Now, here's some of the weird things about it. HB, or Hidden Battler, is active in here, okay? Now, we can do Hidden Battler like this, but you can also use the tack technique, okay? Tacking is where we, just like we explained in USDT.D, where we take the distance that's tacked on the bottom and bring it up to the top, which means silver actually has range to hit. Now you'll notice a little while ago I had a price that was up here in the corner, and I even measured it in white. It was white, right? You saw the white, and I just deleted it. What I was doing was I was measuring this area, and we brought it up to the top. Now, I deleted it a few moments ago, but it was somewhere about the distance. So let's be more accurate, and we'll show you a better way to do it. What we're going to do is we're going to just take a conservative measurement on this weekly chart using a measuring line. Just like we did earlier, I'm going to put it right about here and measure it to where this goes. So it doesn't matter the angle, we're just trying to get the measuring. I'm going to make this in ice cream color. To me, that's my ice cream color. And I'm going to type in the word measure, okay, on measuring line. I'm going to duplicate this line. We're going to tack it now to the upper side along the angle. We're going to move it up. And the angle is going to we're going to put it at the vortex or along this white track, because that's the larger oscillation we were tracking to get that calculation in the first place. Okay. So now when we bring it up to the top side, we now have a conservative price that we should be looking, $45. Okay, so how this works is we're going to be looking for price that reach anywhere from $37 to $45 without doing anything really new. Okay, and what that means is that I don't want to buy it at 45 because we can still come back down to the main oscillation. We could still be doing this and stick out. We can be going up but still coming down and doing this, which means the dominant oscillation will still be in play, but we lose the game, or we lose the game if we're chasing silver too high right now. Okay, the dominant oscillation is still in play, yet we can facilitate for those exceptions to the rules, like here. Okay, so that's what we did when we measured it. I did that for USDT.D, it matched my dream, and now I'm showing you how to do it here for silver. Again, I've been very accurate with the silver chart over the years, and I'm just pointing out one thing we're going to be looking for. So this is going to be a price to watch for. Let's see if we can put some comments in here. Let's put, this is going to be our measured TAC target. Okay, and I'm going to put this in the middle, and I'm going to put this as ice cream. $45 silver. Okay. I'll put a commentary here. Let's use this one. Because, let's put the date, June 14th, 2025. Because of the TAC target, we must allow for silver to rise to $45. Yet this is simply, or this may be, an exception to the rule. Be careful buying at 45. This generally means, this TAC generally means that price is allowed to move to the TAC area, okay, but the dominant oscillation is still possibly dominant and at play. Okay, currently that is between $37 to $21. See the bottom down here, 37 to 21. In short, in brief, or in summary, price is still fluctuating. I'm putting this in words that everyone can understand. Between the white area, but it is allowed to move up to the upper pink measuring line. Okay, that's all that means. That's how you can do the tax analysis. Okay, this is new in Sword Method 7.0. You're going to see me talk more about this TAC. Okay, in my manuscript you'll have some more stuff, but if you want to get started on that, sometimes you can do that. So again, we're measuring here. Conservatively, allow for here. Got it? We allow to that measure line from here to here. 45. That's how we got that number. Got it? Okay. Does everybody have a good idea about what's going to happen with silver? That's going to be my analysis based on silver. Okay, right now, $45. That can increase. That is a dynamic positive number. If this goes on and price finally hits it here, then the TAC is up here. It's a little higher than 45. But right now, that's basically where it's at if it was going to hit. And we're probably going to hit since we're almost there. So that's why I'm saying we're primed already. Okay? Take a screenshot. I'll make a big speech. I hope you guys can use this for every crypto. You guys can use this for every market. This is, I don't know. Well, I'm not perfect. But the principles are the principles. You can verify them over and over and over and over. You can test it in the art, and I hope you do. Let's look at gold now, okay?
Hey, Jason, those
Yes.
will be prophetic numbers. The ones that you have for silver.
What?
They will be prophetic numbers.
Oh, okay.
The $40. Between 40 and 50 and 40, between 40 and 50.
Okay.
That I spoke a while ago.
That would hit prophetic numbers 40, 15. Okay, did I write that down? Oh yeah, look at you did that. You did, Triple J. Look at that. She wrote that here. It's not gonna stay there long. It could go to $50 to $40. Not gonna stay there long. Triple J March. Good. March, good position. I'm gonna put this on. Look to take profit around 0.45 and average area. And if we're really given the whole wick, you can add for that whole wick if you want to. That's just being conservative, so it's probably going to be about $50 right there. Just if we were to measure, because remember, guys, I only measured conservatively. If I measured liberally, it's down here. The measurement's quite longer. If I did, and I tack it on the top, oops, you're looking at $50. Here's your 50, it's right there. Okay, so yeah. So look to take profit around 45 average area to $50, and that's based on my analysis.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna put the date, June. You're welcome. Was that Armin?
Yeah, I'm at the pool. I lost Wi-Fi connection, so I'm on data that may cost me a fortune to listen.
Okay. Yeah. What? Make sure your son gets this, because I know you guys are silver traders.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know you guys. Anyone in silver, you guys need to probably watch that. Just don't get caught up in that 45 too much. Let it pull back. If we build correctly, we need to really get some solid closes and build along there. Otherwise, we're going to come back within the oscillation, and then weaknesses will show in kind. We'll go over that when it's time, but right now, that's enough for you to see the next stuff. Okay. Did I take a picture of that last picture?
What's silver now? Because I hear 37. Watch 37.
It's 36. And yeah, 37's our number. 37's...
That's the benchmark.
Okay.
Abbas says 37. Watch 37. Do you know what was silver in the 80s? Was it $3 or $8?
In the 80s, it was... I don't know. I don't have it on this chart. I only got to 23.
I'm hearing something, numbers of the 80s for silver. I don't know. No, I'm just speaking what I hear. Okay? Just saying. Like gold. 80s numbers.
Prices from the 80s?
Yes.
Okay.
80s numbers. But I heard the Lord say 5 and 8. So, yeah.
Okay.
Because he speaks to me while you're speaking. So he gives me numbers. Sometimes he just gives me a full conversation.
Come.
But I hear 5 and 8. And then he said 80s numbers.
Superfood says peaked at 50 in the 80s. Did it peak at 50 in the 1980s? Wow. Let's put that in there.
And it plummeted to 10?
Peaked in the 80s. Note. In the 80s, price peaked to $50 and plummeted to 10.
Interesting.
That's very interesting because that's about our $40 and $55 number, Triple J.
Lord have mercy. And then you know what I was going to ask you? And I was going to say, oh, excuse my ignorance. I was literally going to say that. Excuse my ignorance. So if USDT goes down and the dollar, obviously, is not lagging.
Triple J? Triple J, you're breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. So if the market is good, does that mean the silver goes down?
If the market is good, does that mean the silver goes down? I haven't studied all the correlations between the stock market. Maybe someone else is more apt to answer that question. Is there anybody who might be able to answer that question? Anybody else?
When the market crashes, people sell anything liquid that they have in order to cover their margin calls. They have to do that. So silver would go down, crypto would go down, anything that they could sell, they will sell in order to make their margin calls if they're margined. And that may only last a week or so.
And actually, I knew you were going to answer. I heard the Lord say Armand. So what it means is if the market is going up in prices, what I mean, it's running, it's massive, that the massive run that we're waiting for. Silver comes down, is that correct? Because the market is moving, it's healthy. Does a silver come down?
I don't think I know the answer.
You don't? John, are you there?
You're talking about the stock markets, when the stock markets are moving up or down? Which direction?
No, up. When the market is going up, when it's healthy.
Oh, silver would still go up, probably with the market.
But if, is the dollar healthy? Because even though that, okay, let me see if I can. If the dollar is healthy and people are spending money, because when there's money, people spend money, correct? So would silver come down because people are putting the money in the market and the market is healthy? Would silver come down?
It could. People move money around. They move money around between whatever's hot. So if the market got hot, people will sell their silver and gold and move it into the market. People will sell their crypto, move it into the stock market. A lot of traders will follow whatever a hot trend is for a while anyway. So you'd see that.
Because isn't the silver and gold used for when the market is bad?
I don't know if I agree with that.
This is Dave. I think the thing to think about with silver is that silver's been terribly manipulated by the banks over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So if you follow Bo Polney, he thinks that silver could go up to $250, if not higher. So once all that manipulation stops.
I think there's a book that Mike Maloney wrote years ago, I think called Gold Money or something like that. And he talked about what happened to the Hunt brothers who were trying to basically buy up the majority of the silver supply back in the 80s. They got stomped out by the regulators who were trying to prevent that from happening, because had they done that, the silver even back then was being heavily manipulated. So if they had been the primary holders, if you will, then it would have prevented the bankers from continuing the manipulative practices that have been going on for decades, if not longer. If that makes sense.
And okay,
Sure.
this is why I'm saying this, because they're saying that the dollar's going to plummet. Wouldn't that be the case if the silver and the gold would go up?
Silver is thought to be the Achilles heel to the bankers, which is why they have to manipulate.
Yeah.
And so long as it's manipulated, they can keep things in reasonable control.
Exactly.
But if things are out of their control, then you can expect wild price swings and fluctuations relative to the banking sector possibly collapsing, or the absorption of banks by the ones that have more power and control and influence.
And the
So
other
if
factor
makes
that
sense.
the other factor that's driving a prediction that is as high as $250 or higher is based purely on supply and demand. So if you compare the supply of silver to the supply of gold, there should be between an 8 to 10 ratio between silver and gold. Silver being 8 to 10 times more available than gold. So in theory, whatever gold is, the price of silver should be between an eighth and a tenth of that price of gold.
Yeah, Dave was right. The gold-silver ratio should be closer to what Dave just alluded to, but it hasn't been allowed to be that for a long time because the bankers, they profit from manipulating those ratios. They profit in numbers that I can't even imagine. So long as they have the reins on the price controls for silver, most everything is shifted to accommodate that.
Yeah, more recently, Chase Bank caught red-handed, but that's not the first time they were caught manipulating the metals market. They just get slapped on the wrist every few years, and for them, they bill it as a business expense. So it's the most manipulated.
I wanted to say that I know this is not popular, but I'm going to say it because this is what has been speaking to me for a long time, and this is why this is coming up. Silver is not going to go up as high as people think until our bags are packed, because then it's going to be too expensive. It's going to take millions of dollars if it's at $250. First of all, everything's really expensive. iPhones, computers, everything uses silver. We have to think about all those things. The other thing is that I know I've mentioned many times about the dream that Abba gave me about the dollars that I had in bags. And for me, that was confirmation, especially when Prophet Robin spoke, that the dollar was not going to devaluate, that America will prosper. And I believe there's going to be a soft transition. And those are the words that Abba gives me. Soft transition. And I'm going to use that as an example. Long time ago, American Express started using XRP Ledger. And I noticed in my statement that before it was just a regular statement, and then they started using USD. And instantly I knew, and obviously that's words of knowledge that comes from the heavens, I knew it was XRP. And when I looked in the internet, American Express was using the XRP Ledger. You can look that up. They use XRP Ledger. Yeah. That's why I'm asking about the silver, and then I'm asking so I can get a little bit more clarity of what God speaks to my ears. Because this is a team effort. Not everything in part. He'll give me some things, and then we all share our knowledge that God gives us.
This might help you. More and more people are holding physical silver and gold. It's not that easy to sell physical silver and gold. You have to go to special places. It's easy to sell anything that's on the stock market, so ETFs, that kind of stuff. But to sell physical gold or silver, you got to make a trip somewhere. You got to find a seller. It's just a little. It'll keep the commodities a little more stable, perhaps, if people hold physical silver because they're less likely to sell.
Yep. Mr. Mall.
Superfood Man just posted a chart that's
Correct.
the offsets very
Telling.
very telling, right? If you think back to what happened to JFK during his term, what bills did he propose that we should back the currency by silver? What happened to him shortly after that? What happens when you have banks like JP Morgan Chase who get slaps on the wrist, millions of dollars at a time, every other year, for the manipulation of silver, time and time again? If we allow silver to, how do I make this analogy? If we allow silver to be released from the reins of the bankers, it would free the system to move in ways that has not been allowed for centuries. And with that being said, as it's been said by others already, the silver supply is not low, but it's what's above ground. It's what's readily available that causes the price to have to be manipulated. And in order for silver to hit $250 plus, would mean that the demand would have to rise above the cost of, I believe Mike Maloney said it's the cost for the developer, if you will, to mine it. It has to exceed a certain price point in order for it to be equitable for them to mine it. And silver is not a primary precious metal in terms of like mining, it's actually gold. So silver is typically a byproduct of mining other things. So at present day value, it's not economical for the primary miners to mine directly, which is why there's not so much emphasis put on it. But the flashpoint that would cause it to reach 250 is going to have to be because there's such a demand that we have to go back and revalue what it would cost to get it out the ground, smelt it, refine it, ship it to those in need, and then people will really see the technology that's available really under fruition. The vehicles, Superfood was saying just a few weeks ago, it'll take, was it 100 ounces or 1,000 ounces to develop this new battery that would be off the charts in terms of like storage capacity. There's no less than 1,000 everyday uses for silver by comparison to that of gold. But you can recoup the gold because there's smelters who have that process down, how do you say it, down packed. But most of the silver that's ever been mined in the history of mining, I believe, is it 99% of it cannot be recouped?
Correct. Yeah, it's
So
a very high
that.
number.
That's all I wanted to say, and hopefully that lends to your question, Janine.
Yep. Now remember, before we continue, silver is a consumable, so you can't get it back. Really, you can't get it back. It burns up. You put it in your phone, you can't just take it out of your phone and keep using it over and over again, which means it's a consumable. It's like a one-time use. Unlike gold, which can be melted down countless times and you only lose a very small percentage of it due to losses in crucibles and things like that. But for the most part, even those can be recovered. It is not the same for silver. It burns up. There's reasons for that. I won't get into all of those reasons, although that's up for debate. I have my own reasons on why I know that's to be the truth. That means that there has to be a rise in demand for silver. But until then, so many shorts are placed on silver that they have to throw money at it, the margin accounts, just to keep those positions when silver price gets out of control. By and far, they don't want it getting past $30 or $30, $40, $50. If it gets past there, they can't control it. So I'm looking for a major coordinated attack in the markets to push silver at $40 to $50, which is basically $40 to $45 to $50 on our map. And that means we're going to be looking for manipulation to kick into high gear. They cannot have it at certain breaking points because then they lose control of it. It's very hard to pull down a stock when it's in a healthy area. Same with the cryptocurrency. When the structure's all correct, it's very expensive to manipulate it. It's more cheaper to manipulate it at certain areas when there's natural resistances, because then you're playing in at the right time. So it's like a rhythm of music to jump in. With markets, if the markets are going up, but then all these resistance converge at a single area that's resistance, that's when you want to throw the biggest money at it. We're coming to those areas, so you're going to see silver come down in price. The reason the banks are trying such a hard and coordinated attack is because every time silver is high, their way that their big cash cow, which they make money by shorting silver all the time and taking long options positions in silver, those type of things, that's how they manipulate it. They take larger positions and try to short sell silver. But if they cannot beat the game, they start losing the game. They lose control and they lose money every time it stays above certain price numbers, such as 30, and it keeps going on and on. And this has been going on for years. It's been going on for years. They were right. I'm so glad Mr. Mall talked and Superfood shared in the chat the picture in our Zoom call of the price of silver. I've heard it as historically as 1 to half the price of gold. But for the most of history, on average, it was about 1/4 of the price of gold. But at other times, it was half the price of gold. So whatever the price of gold was, it was. Now, in my opinion, all of these things will end one day because God hates it. The Bible says, I despise false weights and measures. And in the Bible, when God made Adam, he says, Adam, here's the gold of the land is over there. And he said, and the gold of the land is, the scripture, it says, good. God was the one to make metals with a fixed or set weight depending on their mass. So there's a set weight, like one small piece of gold equals the same weight as a larger piece of silver. And so there was always a set weight. And it's one of the things that God despises in the scripture. It says, I despise false weights and measures. So anytime we start messing with the ratio of things, we start manipulating the price of something in a very negative way. This is not the natural markets of value for rice or something like that. We're actually messing with the actual underlying source of those. That's breaking the rules of the game. Okay, so price of rice will go up and down depending on the weight of metal or the demand of rice. But the metal will always be the metal. The metal is always the same. Metal, as Rich Dad Poor Dad says, is God's money. That's what he said. And it's true. God made that. When we went off the gold standard, we started messing with the standard. Okay, we started making a false weight and measure. So our measures are all false and they're all over the place. So our price of weight rice is not just between the natural market. We're also dealing with the manipulation and the printing of the money. The printing on the back end. Whoa. Just like the crypto we were looking at a year or two ago, XOR. XOR, I saw major buying coming in, but they had a clause that they can print more. So even though people were buying, they were printing more in the back end. It's like the Bible says you accumulate for a bag filled with holes. There's a scripture for that. A bag filled with holes. That's what's happening with the markets. When we have this market, the markets are trying to do what they would naturally do, but they're manipulated on the back end, on an end that you can't control, because the banks are playing a secret game, messing with the weights and standards. And this is evil in the Lord's sight. One day we're going to come back to the gold standard. One day we're going to come back to the silver standard, which is the same. The certain presidents like Kennedy tried to release it. They said he was killed over this. Certain presidents have tried to come back to the silver standard at the very least, and that was Kennedy. And he was killed. And I believe that's probably one of the reasons why he was killed. The first act by, I believe it was Lyndon Johnson, after he was elected, is to get rid of what Kennedy signed. It was like 1 week out. He said, all the money's going to go back to silver. And so now there was going to be a set standard. They killed him. I believe Lyndon Johnson came in, what's his name? And then he said, let's get rid of that. And that was his first executive order. Look it up. It's in history. You're going to see that. The governments don't want that to happen, or any evil governments didn't want that to happen. And so there will be a time in the future, it's prophesied that trading will be much easier. I believe it's when gold and silver come back to standard. Until then, right now, they're based on the system, and we need to see that change. And when the gold and silver comes back into power, then everything's going to change. A financial reset. Some people believe that's part of Nasara, Gesara. Is it going to happen? I believe I'm in that camp where I believe we're going to see those things. I don't know when, I don't know how exactly, but in some time in the future, and we'll be ready. Let's look at gold before we conclude out today, before we conclude our video. I looked at gold, and I had an image of gold from April 12th. We were looking at gold, and this is one of the things we're seeing. We saw this larger oscillation. We were looking at higher prices, close to 3,495, even 3,654. We can see that the slope was upward. A friend called me and says, hey, should I sell some gold? I said, wait. you got higher prices to go. One lady, she put in an order. She said, I already put my order to sell gold, but I think higher prices are to come. I believe so too. We've talked about that even April and even earlier than that when the health first came in based on some of these angles down here. And that's when we saw prices moving into health. So this is where prices had a chance to start moving up. Today's price of gold is, certainly we hit there. Look at that. You can see just a few, this is a weekly chart, and just a few weeks ago, what is it, on April 21st, we hit that high number, 3,500, and we spiked and came back down, but we've been building steadily in alignment with this parabolic, and that's where we're going again. So I believe that all of this is still a healthy area. I'm going to be looking for gold to continue moving upward, which means that the next resistance is going to move along the track, and the number is now also going to increase. So based on the curvature, the now new resistance area or averages are around 3,700. So here's 3,784, and so we're looking for those areas on average for prices to get. So I would say somewhere around 3,007. So now this has been complete. I'm looking for 3,495 dynamic plus prices after current shakeout and the previous projections were hit. So after all of our previous projections were hit of 3,022 from our lower side, our lower health, we were looking to come up to here, 299, 3,002, all of that was hit. The next health triggers above here. Within this overall oscillation, there's little games that are played, and that's the next health, and I'll leave that back where it's at. You guys can remember that I put a little line here showing us where we're looking for the next health. The next health was revealed. We got a big push. Now we're looking for the upper resistances along this area. Those at the time were 3,007. Now we're moving on upward. Again, this is the price of gold. So gold from 3,600 to 3,700. Current price 3,432. Does everybody understand that? Does that make sense to you guys? What we're looking at now is that's the range for gold. So its natural play area is going to be somewhere in these areas. Okay, I'm going to put this word for this. I'm going to put complete. Okay, put the now new date, June 14th, 2025. And this was again around April 2025. And now June, I'm going to say I am looking for gold, XAU, to hit closer next to 3,600 to 3,700 gold prices. Okay, based on the curvature, gold prices. Triple J, 39, 30, 80, 1980 numbers, hitting threes. I saw a straight line. Okay, threes. So now we're hitting some of the threes. Maybe that's some of these threes. Currently, we're already in those threes. That was back in April. All right. So back when we were in the twos in April, now we're hitting. It's April. Yeah, threes. She just said threes, so I don't know what that date will be. Okay. So April. So over the year, we track these. Now I have one big number for gold, and the big number for gold is closer to this area. Now we're going to move it along the track, and it's closer to 6,000. Okay, there's a big resistance, and that resistance is based on these larger structures. I'm going to show you on a monthly chart the larger oscillation at play. Okay, and I'm going to type this in. However, based on my larger oscillation, we may see prices of gold move towards 6,000. Okay. If you see prices of gold closer to 6,000, you'll be like, wow, that's that. Big resistance. Okay, so we're going to be looking at that. Now, if we go straight up and we go right to those areas, we're going to be looking at a very high prices, and when that happens, you'll also probably see silver move, and these can break the banks. When these get out of control, you might see some of the silver market move up, and this might break the banks. It's said that gold will break the Federal Reserve, break the banks, because the short's position. If you understand more about that, that's how the markets are manipulated, but it affects them in a big way. And they start going bankrupt when they cannot control the metal prices, because they've been doing it for so long. Okay, current ratio, we were talking about silver earlier, is around 10 to 1, I think, and that's terrible. 10 to 1 when it comes to gold. So that's very terrible, very manipulated, not how it was originally designed. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave that about right there for gold. I think that's all I really want to say at the moment. I'm bullish gold. I would not be looking to exit gold. We'll put another health marker above this area, and then we'll draw the DP. I'll show you the DP projection. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so here's a bearish marker. We're going to clone one out, put it on the bearish side. It's going to be up here in this area, 4,597, which is about 4,600. And then we're going to put the health above there and above here. So if I see gold doing something like, let me bring this one up. So a better image for you to see would be something like this image. I'll be looking for a move down, move up, decision point, move up, move down, and a big move down. Okay, I don't see it going much higher than that, but that's how that would look. Anytime you draw one marker, you can use the other side for a marker. Greens on top, reds on bottom. Reds on bottom, greens on top. Okay, so take a screenshot. That's how I see gold playing out. I hope this helps. Triple J.
Yeah, I see the dollar with like gold cover. Trump is going to make it that the dollar will be backed by gold, but not in your regular standard way.
Okay.
I don't know how it's going to be done. But sorry, I'm trying to understand what I was speaking. It's going to be what he's doing right now, the way of stabilizing the dollar, but he's going to include the gold, the silver, is going to include the crypto, and it's going to set us up so when the time comes, we will be able to buy in the low prices, because I completely agree with you that silver and gold belongs to Allah. And when you were speaking, I saw the bags and the camel. That's going to be a way of us moving out of the system and then being able to buy when the time comes to get out of the system. Because we won't use what's being used in the world. So yeah, he's doing something to stabilize the dollar so we can move into prosperity and balance. It's like I hear the word balance sheet. It's a balance sheet.
Okay.
Everything that makes money, that will make money for the United States of America and to bring wealth. He's using Trump for his children, for us, for you and me. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Not me, Abba.
Thank you, Triple J. All right. Now, that's going to conclude our video today. Thank you all who support us. It's $18 for the full month for Dive. You guys are Dive tier members. But we also appreciate all your tithe and offerings. We try not to charge much for your Dive membership to get you access to all this stuff, this content. Some of these moves that you guys see are important. Some are not so important. Some of the angles are more for peace of mind for many of you. Some people come to our community because they're like, oh, I heard about XRP, or I heard about this crypto, or I heard about that crypto. And our job here is to give you peace and understanding about what territories we're in. And that can help you give you timing about what season you're in for the moment, for the year, for the month, for the week, and even for the day. And using our art, you guys can even use that for smaller time frames. I don't give you every single angle. I try to give you the most important things that pop out or that I see that may be more relevant. You can draw very complete maps, but for me to draw complete maps on over hundreds of cryptos that you guys ask for, it's very, very difficult to draw every single angle or track every single thing. I try to do the big stuff as much as you guys ask for the crypto requests that you have. If you have a request to place, don't forget to put a message in our Patreon. Thank you guys for supporting us. If you like to give to our ministry, we're gonna in every single one of the videos, there's a link to give. If you want more ways to give, just contact us, shoot us an email, or video call us, but mostly on Patreon because we're not contacting people on YouTube. If somebody's ever contacting you on YouTube or anything like that, it's not me. Unless I'm just giving you a general response, but I won't ask for money or anything. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're coming to the final, I believe it's only 2 more sermons left in our Fortune and Clarity series. Absolutely been loving this message series. The week before, it was about repentance, and this week is on forgiveness. And tomorrow, we're going to speak about fasting. So we're going to talk about fasting in the Fortune and Clarity series. As we're coming to an end, fasting is a very big one. If you've been struggling with fasting, I'm going to give you techniques on how to fast. I'm going to show you guys some easy stuff we can do and show you the benefits of fasting. We're going to talk all about it from a biblical perspective. And 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. I sure love you guys. Have a great day, and I'll be back for some final questions or comments.